Home. It's where you build your legacy, where traditions are started, seeds are planted, meals are shared, and stories are told. We are Chris and Natalie Carpenter, owners of Story Real Estate, and our team of top agents helps people find homes in Moscow, Idaho, and around the country.
Have you thought about a move? Contact us to get connected with a top agent who shares your values and puts your family first. Or reach out to us about our Moscow relocation guide.
Wherever you're looking to go, we can help you find home. Call us at Story Real Estate or visit us at storyrealestate.com and start building your legacy.
Get ready to rumble! You've asked for it. It's here. We're going to rumble. Hey, y'all. Welcome to CrossPolitic. It's Tuesday on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Pastor Toby Chalk Knox. I'm the Water Boy. A number of you have been asking.
You might want to pour yourself some of that, Pastor.
More than a number. A lot of you have been asking.
I got a whole pot of coffee right there.
How come they didn't give it back to me? Because I'll probably finish it.
No, you got enough.
I gave myself a trickle so you could have some.
We have not been talking really for the last 2 hours.
I know.
So that we can have this conversation.
I came in the studio.
Have you just been glaring at each other?
Pretty much. For pre-production.
The tension has been tough.
And we're like, don't talk to each other.
Cut it with a knife.
Don't talk to me.
Because a lot of you have been asking, what are your thoughts on the Steven Crowder Daily Wire debacle?
Oh.
We talked a little
also,
bit. We've mentioned it. Debacle. I'm from Texas. We said debacle.
Nobody in Texas says
we
that
say
way.
Fixing that debacle.
No, they don't.
Okay?
No, nobody.
You like
Texas,
that?
where you at? Texas, where you at? Tell us.
And so this is the show.
Oh.
This is the show where we're going to go fisticuffs with one another about kind of our assessment.
Why do you think it has to be fisticuffs? Why do you think it has to be fisticuffs?
Because I think you're wrong.
Because Gabe's wrong.
I think you're wrong. There you go.
All right, today's culture shifts like sand, but New St. Andrews College is established on Christ, the immovable rock. It's a premier institution that forges evangelical leaders who don't fear or hate the world. Guided by God's word, they take the world back because they're equipped with the genius of classical liberal arts and God-honoring wisdom, thanks to a faculty dedicated to academic rigor and to God's kingdom. Find out more today at nsa.edu.
I just closed my laptop.
So that's how it's going to be.
Okay.
Oh,
This is how it's going to be.
Oh.
So, as you guys know, a couple weeks ago, it's been actually a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
Steven Crowder came out, hadn't done a show, hadn't been on air for about a month or two.
Something like that.
Okay.
And he came out with what he called kind of the Big Con. Big Con, what was his website? BigCon.com?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he did this, his first video in months, he did a video on some contracts he received. So he severed his relationship from the Blaze. And in order to, because I think he was either bound by things he didn't like that he's bound by with the Blaze, or he just kind of wanted to kind of test the market. He wanted to move on. Whatever his initial problems were with the Blaze, he wanted to move on. And so he kind of put himself out on the market. Well, the Daily Wire offered him a contract. And Steven went live.
They didn't offer him a contract.
They offered him a term sheet, which is an offer.
To start the conversation.
That's right. Start the conversation. That's great. Good context there.
But Steven didn't present it as a Daily Wire offer.
That's correct. He went live with a term sheet that he got.
Yeah. And just said, this is representative of what conservative
and Big
platforms
Con
are doing.
And Big Con, right?
Yeah, big conservatism.
Yeah, that's right. And so after, that was a 20-minute, 20 something like that minute show.
Yeah.
And that was a couple weeks ago. Well, then the Daily Wire responded, I think 2 days later, walking through the contract or the term sheet that they had offered Steven.
Well, and first of all, owning it.
Coming out, saying, that was our contract.
Daily Wire.
And we had a bunch of questions. Everyone was asking us, hey, is that you? Is that you? Is it you? And it just casted a cloud over us. So we just decided to come out and say, yeah, we owned it.
No, and Jeremy Boring said, I'm happy to own it. He didn't say there's a cloud.
Yeah.
He said, I think it's good.
Well, he said, but they had a bunch of people asking.
Sure.
And so Jeremy Boring responded, walked through the term sheet, almost section by section.
Yeah.
And then the next day or two is a long show or a long recording. The next day or two, within 2 days, I think, Steven Crowder came out with another recording of him talking about a conversation that he had recorded with Jeremy Boring.
Him and Jeremy Boring had a private conversation that he recorded.
That's right.
And he played a few
Clips from it, snippets
of the conversation.
from it. Yeah, that's right. So that's kind of the context of the back and forth. Now we're going to play some clips from Crowder, and we're going to play some clips from Boring, because we want you to kind of know a little more from their mouth what the discussion has been, and what the argument's been, what the disagreement has been.
Because some of it's been missed,
and some of it they've been talking past each other. Some of it has been missed. Some of it, I think, and our big issue here is well, I'd say mine is none of them are right.
Okay, I'm glad to hear you say that.
None of them are right.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
We'll get there.
Because before you've kind of been like, Crowder is absolutely wrong on this one. And you've taken the Daily Wire's side on this.
Well,
and
no,
I'm
I've taken the Daily Wire's side. I told you straight up, I don't like the Daily Wire's contract. I told you, I've been telling you that straight up from jump.
What don't you like about the Daily Wire?
Crowder
you came in and you were wearing a shirt that said, I love Jeremy Boring. Will you go out with me?
Buy me some razors.
Yeah. I saw you.
What I said was, I think I think Steven Crowder has sinned in all this. I don't think the Daily Wire has.
So you think their contract is above board?
I think that's standard protocol contract, and it didn't surprise me at all that they had that language in their contract.
Blah, blah, blah.
Not at all. We'll get there. We'll get there. Fisticuffs.
He's big
Fisticuffs.
He's big
I'm big con. I don't like the contract.
I don't like this.
So here's Steven's. Here's the first show. Here's what started the whole thing, and kind of from his mouth, some of his concerns here. Go.
Let me go through this. Effectively, full ownership of all your social media platforms, channels, in perpetuity, the rights to your content, name, image, likeness, even the ones that you've built. Don't sign contracts out there that include multi-million-dollar penalties for different. Let me read you an example of what I mean. And this would be if it was me. If Crowder fails to deliver a monthly content in any month or any of the quarterly content in the corner, including any and all ad reads, and by the way, all these contracts came with 3, 4, 5 ad reads per show, which would fundamentally change what this show is. Got to get those dollar bills.
So do you, Steven.
If I failed to do that, it would be a $250,000 reduction in fee per quarter. If, let's say, we did do everything per quarter, but annually maybe missed something, like let's say we went and did a Change My Mind instead of a daily show, which of course requires a lot more work, there'd be a separate $1 million penalty for that if you miss a single piece of content. And the amount of content required is not in line with, frankly, it's worse than Disney, it's worse than ABC, it's worse than NBC, it's worse than CBS. This is ownership of you and everything that you do. But here's, just to drive it home, don't sign something that has another $100,000 daily penalty if it's not signed off on beforehand. You get hit by a car, you have a sick day, you could lose $100,000 a day.
Can we pause right there real quick? Just some clarification.
He's pausing right there.
Yeah. So Jeremy later clarified this: sick day versus penalty. So the sick days wouldn't be as
you're still penalized.
You're still penalized.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't be as a penalty $100,000.
Well, there's a difference.
So there's a distinction between sick day and a skip day.
Yeah.
Basically.
Jeremy is saying when you decide not to do a show,
it's a penalty.
That's versus like, okay, you didn't do it because you had certain circumstances. That's still a penalty, but it's a lesser penalty than you decide you're not going to produce something.
I just want to state that there. I don't think Crowder would probably end up disagreeing with that point. But Crowder, I think, was over summarizing it in a way he shouldn't have. Anyways, keep going.
Anyone wonder why there's burnout in this? Anyone wonder why you have kids come up and they leave and never to come back? You think if you had that kind of a penalty, you think if someone said, hey, we're going to penalize you $10,000 every day you miss coming into work, you think you'd be stressed? This is worse than the left frames their contracts. Again, of course I didn't sign any of these things. But I now know what other kids are signing out there. And here's the worst part. Yeah, that's terrible. I think it's, I just think that's wrong to treat people that way.
Pause it again. He
You gonna let the man talk or not?
I'm gonna let him, but I think he's still being like, he's not stating things as fairly as he should. The contract was for 192 shows, and it was only Monday through Thursday that he had to produce shows. So no Fridays at all. He could substitute a show. So technically, a year long, like our contract, or we don't have a contract, but our year long production.
Oh, we don't.
It's 5 days a week.
We don't have a contract.
We're 5 days a week.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Well, we all have to perform here.
Big con in our studio right now.
I'm making you guys work 5 days a week.
We don't have a contract.
No contract.
I just want everybody to know.
Did you sign a
I didn't
contract?
sign a contract. Did you sign a contract?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't.
All right. You can play this anytime you want to round that up.
But there's technically, if it's Monday through Friday, it'd be 240 shows versus 192. So Steven, there's a little more room to breathe there than Steven's making out to be. That's all I'm saying. Keep going.
This is where, in going through this, and I needed to take some time because, look, I've always tried to be a happy warrior, and I want to go back to that. I haven't been happy for a while. To be really, I haven't been happy for a while because when you know what goes on behind these scenes,
now he's talking about the Blaze.
and you see how many people are complicit, it creates an air of hopelessness. It really does. Where you think the people who are supposed to be linking arms and fighting with you, fighting for you, want to punish you. So here's the worst part. Do not, kids, under any circumstances, sign a contract with people who claim to be conservative, but will penalize you 25% for any demonetization or sponsor boycott. Look, let me read this to you. If any of the major platforms, oh no, sorry, that's the second one. Let me go back to the first one. There's another 20%. It's 45% if you get a content strike. Let's start with the demonetization. If blank is boycotted or dropped by more than 50% of the advertising partners, the company is not able to replace them within 90 days, the fee will be reduced by 25%. That's a sponsorship boycott. So that's saying, hey, liberals, boycotts work. They work on our guys. We'll punish them for you. Let me go on. Specifically, YouTube demonetization. If any of the major platforms issues a content strike such that Crowder cannot be monetized on such platform, and the company is not able to resolve the issue within 90 days, the fee will be reduced by 25% moving forward. Now, I thought this was a mistake because, these people maybe didn't know who I am, that we've been demonetized for 3 years. No, it was made very clear to me in no uncertain terms. This is what's sent out to everybody. And then if you get a strike, meaning a suspension, another 20% reduction. And then another 20% of it happens on Apple. And then another 10% of it happens on Facebook. And then another 10% of it happens on Spotify.
I think that's interesting, just in terms of the percentages.
What
the market?
Do you think?
I just think, just from a business standpoint, and from the percentages.
Yeah, tell me more.
Okay, so here's the deal.
We ain't got a contract.
No.
I think Steven right there highlights the Daily Wire's business model problem. And this is something that...
No. Let the Daily Wire speak for themselves.
We will. But okay. I want to say one thing. But there's a reason some people have asked about our business model, wondering why we're doing what we're doing. And there's a reason why we're doing what we're doing here. And why we're trying to be as anti-fragile and to try to remove as many levers as possible from all the factors that could come into play to take down CrossPolitic through advertisers, so forth. And this is, I can't express
and why though
and emphasize how important that is.
Yeah, so that we can say what we want to say, when we want to say it, how we want to say it.
That's right.
Right. So that decision stays with us.
And all these, Steven too, they all got levers on them. Oh, Steven's acting like he don't have levers on him. He's got levers on him.
He just told you he ain't been happy for a long time.
He had it. Well, he shook that lever, but he doesn't know the levers that he's going to fix to get into.
I don't know. I think he does, which is why he's particularly taking this fight.
But he also don't got any money. He's not getting paid right now.
I think you need to play Jeremy Burns clip before we get into the rest of this.
Let's go.
So what were we trying to accomplish with this section? Well, let's go through it. The reduction of fee from lost revenue from boycotts, content strikes, or bans from major social media platforms. A, ad drop. If Crowder is boycotted or dropped by more than 50% of his then extant advertising partners, that is, if 50% of the money that he's making from advertisers is suddenly gone and we're not able to replace that revenue within 90 days, then his fee will be reduced by 25% until such time as the ad revenue has been restored for a period of 90 days, and then it would all reset. Stephen says, all the left does is boycott our advertisers, so this just says to the left, your boycotts work and we'll enforce it for you. We will punish the content creator for you. But this isn't about punishing the content creator. This is about if the Daily Wire is going to leverage, I can't stress it, probably $100 million by the time you have marketing and infrastructure costs, by the time you pay for all the legal compliance, all the technology that it takes to support Stephen's show and Stephen's show, even at the price that we offered for it, which he would have wanted much more, at least $100 million. Obviously, if the show makes dramatically less money, well, then Stephen has to make less money because we're making less money. And I brought this up to Stephen on the phone, and I said, Stephen, if we guarantee you $1 for your show, and the show makes $1 in ad revenue and $1 in subscription revenue, then how does the money work? Well, it works that $2 come in, you get your guaranteed $1, we get $1. What do we do? What do you do with your $1? Well, you produce your show and you pay yourself. What do we do with our $1? Well, we market your show, provide all the back-end infrastructure, pay for the 250 plus humans who work to make all of this continue to grow.
Time out.
Okay,
can I talk overboard now?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let him finish. I just want to say, in the same way you didn't think that Steven Crowder was being fair in presentation, Boring is doing the exact same thing here. Mm-hmm. Notice he's like, well, you get your $1, you produce your show, and then he goes down a line item for what it is that he has to do on his side.
Yeah.
Oh, production is just produce your show?
Yeah. Right.
That's all it is? It's just you go produce your show? Yeah. Why aren't you going down the line item?
In other words, Steven doesn't get that whole $1. Right.
Well, he just produces his show. Yeah. So it's 50 for Steven and 50
Steven's got to pay
for producing.
Because the part of the contract means that Steven's responsible for his own cameraman, for his own studio, for his own overhead.
Produce your show.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway, go ahead.
But we don't pay for one single person more than we need. There's no charity jobs. We're not giving our money away. If anything, we're understaffed by 50%. We ask more of our employees than any other company probably in America today. We drive people.
Stop. Our producers are laughing right now.
Yeah. You guys just go on, produce the show. Just go on.
Produce your show.
Go on, cut it.
I mean, on this point, Crowder's got him. Because Crowder's talking about the mom and pop joint podcasts. He's talking about the young kids coming up who
hustling,
hungry, duct tape, and you know they're just pulling it together. Super glue. It's at night. It's in the morning. They're working 3 jobs. You know they're married. They're trying to provide for their wife.
You got our producers back there like yes.
But,
preach, pastor.
I mean, it's kind of hilarious that he's talking this way with what you see behind him. I know. Like, look behind him.
Well, and they're both. I think they're both kind of understating.
We're really strapped. We're tight. Like only 250 people. We don't have any extras. 250 people. What would you do with 250 people, Neil?
Yeah, I think they're both overstating.
Yeah, he's actually.
I agree with you.
You know, they're both overstating, and they're both kind of leaning into where they're right. Yeah. I will say. Actually, keep going because we'll probably get into more.
I just wanted to bring that up.
For real.
Incredibly hard. Because our resources are limited, because we're trying to accomplish so much
we get it.
We have people
for our values, for our movement.
There's a lot of windows.
So we pay for that out of our $1, and then we pay ourselves. But that's how it works. I said, if the next day one of the $, the ad $, goes away, now what happens? Should it be that you said something on your show that caused that $1 to go away?
I think this is a fair point.
Now.
Based off their business model.
Your $1 and we make $0? I said, that wouldn't make any sense. Obviously, you would have to lose a little and we would have to lose a little. I said, we're trying to sort of emulate the idea of a joint venture. And Stephen said, no, you should lose all the money. It's your business. And I said, well, Stephen, how would we have a business? Why would we be in business? And how would we stay in business? And Stephen, this is a very important point. Stephen, again, I think the most entertaining, talented person in the conservative movement. I think one of the most entertaining and talented people in entertainment generally in the country today. has created a very successful content generation company, a very successful production company. But Stephen's never had to create the company that actually distributes, markets, and monetizes all of that content. He talks in his video about being one of the only true independent conservative voices. And I find that incredibly offensive. Stephen, the whole time I've known him, has worked for someone else, has been paid by someone else. That doesn't mean other people tell him what to say. He's a very independent voice, and that's good. So is Matt Walsh. So is Candace Owens. So is Ben Shapiro. So is Michael Knowles. So is Brett Cooper. But Stephen, as much or more than any of them, a very independent voice. But he's not exactly a self-made man. That's not true. He was paid by PJTV when I met him, which was owned by a billionaire at the time. Then he was paid by CRTV for a number of years, which was owned by a billionaire at the time. Then he was paid by The Blaze, which was subsidized by a billionaire, until Tyler Carden, one of the real genius businessmen in our movement, turned the company around and made it profitable. During all of that time, Stephen drove a ton of revenue. He's incredibly valuable. I'm not suggesting that he wasn't driving value. He was. I'm only saying he didn't have to build all of that. He didn't have to think about it. And he didn't necessarily have to be profitable. And he doesn't know for a fact that he was profitable because, as he has said very publicly, all those companies, none of them really shared all the information about what was happening with them.
That's a problem.
That's
a problem.
I think he's got a good point on the end of that. Mm-hmm. Stephen has been in one way or another underneath somebody else with the freedom to flourish.
Yeah.
And he's hit the ceiling with that.
And his risks have been limited because his paycheck's guaranteed.
Right. And this is a problem with artists. I do have to completely disagree, though, with his assessment of, hey, I lose $1, you have to lose $1. Mm-hmm. Stephen is...
I'd say it depends.
Okay.
And I would say it depends.
You're sounding way more reasonable. I'm starting to dislike you because
I gave you both these.
Because he spent the week in Oklahoma.
No,
that's what it was.
I gave you that in Oklahoma. I mean,
it beat him down for
I went from Texas to Oklahoma too, man. Right. That was tough. It was tough.
That's why you're getting taking edge off.
Yeah.
Gabe, here's my point. Oh, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
All I was gonna say is I said this earlier when we were fighting about it. If I have a content creator come to me and he says, I want a guaranteed paycheck. And I say, okay, well, I'm going to structure your content, let's say about $2 million or whatever. Make it up. But if I have a content creator come to me and say, I want to participate in all the risk you guys are participating in, I want to try to make as much money as I possibly can with you guys, well, then I'm going to include YouTube revenue. I'm going to include, Apple revenue. And then if Apple cancels that content creator and Apple cancels, we're in this joint venture together, which is what Jeremy's trying to articulate. And then we're gonna lose revenue together because we lost that channel together.
The problem is, so
there's a very much difference between a guaranteed contract and a joint venture contract.
And I would say those scenarios make sense in a vacuum, with no context.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So those are reasonable options in a vacuum.
And I'm saying this is how Daily Wire operates. They operate in the joint venture world.
And Crowder knows it.
But that's not how they present themselves. No,
fair enough.
How they present themselves is we are the vanguard of the conservative culture war.
Sure. Blaze.
But stop.
I'm friends with Steve Dace. I know these contracts. They all do that.
Where's the whistle? Blow whistle. Foul.
No.
Wait, stop.
They all operate this way.
Stop. No. But here's the thing.
This is why you got to support us.
Stop. The problem is that you're not hearing me. Okay. So the business models, fine. Reasonable options in a vacuum. If you just do business in some little pristine utopian world.
Yeah.
But if what your business model claims to be is
fighting big tech, fighting liberal agenda,
we are sticking it to the liberals, and we are winning over big tech and big government and so forth. Then what you're presenting yourself as is we are standing up for the little man and we're sticking it to them. And now, and then the offer is, so it's not just, do you want to come do business with us, but it's, do you want to join our military unit? Our we're going to go do damage over there. Mm-hmm. And the point that I think that Crowder's trying to make is that it's not simply a matter of fixed income or shared risks. It's a matter of, do you got my back or not?
Yeah.
If I'm going to take the fight to the enemy and I bring the fight to the enemy and then they light me on fire, do you got my back?
Well, then Crowder should be looking at a $5 million contract instead of a 50.
Wait,
Like that's the
what?
difference. He should be negotiating if he wants a risk-free contract, a contract that's not affected by the elements, so he can be free. I'm cool with that. But you're talking very different numbers. A guaranteed contract. They do this in the pros,
Did you not hear what he
NBA,
just
all this
said?
stuff. I did. But I'm saying is the contract's gonna be different.
We're talking about a movement.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
The bad guys are on the other side.
Is there a middle ground?
No, but
is there a middle ground where the movement can say, "Hey, look, yeah, we're fighting all these movements, and yet we're going to try to do the best we can to use YouTube, Facebook, and everything in the interim while we have access as best we possible."
Crowder's not even talking about himself in this. He's talking about
You can't,
anybody
Crowder. That's
in
disingenuous. He's trying to remove himself from it, but he can't.
Okay, but regardless, I guess I don't think we communicated there.
See what I'm saying?
Words came out, but there was no communication.
There was some disturbance.
I just don't. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Repeat.
You went over there, and I was over here.
Okay, repeat.
And I was my eyes split like this because I didn't know which way to look.
Which one of y'all hit me?
I'll try to say this again. Let me see.
Okay.
I'll try English this time.
Okay.
I don't speak Texan, so I'm really limited. So if you say no risk, you just have this guaranteed payment, so you can have absolute freedom.
Yep.
But what that does is it divides you in terms of allegiance.
Right.
Now the artist who's going out to do the assassin hits on the enemy is free.
Yep.
But they've structured it in the contract in such a way as to say, you do whatever you want, and whatever you want doesn't affect us.
Yeah.
Which is just another way of saying, we're not really with you.
It would still affect them. What they're trying to do, what the contract
but
negotiations
there's a lot
be is
more
like, we're trying to
penalize him on behalf of what.
No, they aren't.
Well,
They're saying
well,
we're trying to guarantee money.
Gabe's saying if you do the option where it's a guaranteed payments, and he would say lower the salary,
Lower the risk.
and then all the hits the company takes because the company's assuming all the risk. But I'm saying the problem with that though is you've lost the camaraderie.
Yeah, well,
You've
what I need
lost-
you for too.
You've lost the unity of vision.
No, we're still paying you $5 million. That's incredible.
No, it's not.
We're there.
But
$5 million is incredible.
I think
it's a guaranteed payment.
I think there's a problem with that because I think he's probably worth way more than that. But
I'm just making up numbers.
I know, but I'm just saying the other part of
So
those,
were they.
I don't think it's not.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, they
Steven
were.
said it was a good offer.
But
No,
it's,
it was
but
a
it's
good
not
offer.
just.
That's what he said.
It's not just about the money though.
Right.
I think
It's the fight.
people
Yeah.
fight because they believe in it. They fight and say the truth fearlessly because they know they're part of a brotherhood.
Yeah.
they're part of a unit.
I'm
and
trying
they got
to-
one another's back.
I'm with you. And that's why our business model is never going to be like this.
Right.
That's why we're different.
I don't even want to do contracts like this.
But what I'm saying is,
I think we should make Gabe sign a contract, but
Just
we
me.
don't have
Just
to.
me. Hey, as long as it's guaranteed payment,
as long as
I'm not getting that right now.
Your
$5
contract
a
is-
month.
the only
$5 a month, Gabe, and you can say whatever you want. We get the rest of it.
There
Gabe's
you go.
contract is he can't ever sign any kind of contract like this with anybody on the network. That's your contract.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
Pause. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what this next ad says, but I'm going
This
to read
show's
it.
just getting real.
Now is the time to sign up for a club membership at fightlaughfeast.com.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Please.
It is.
Because we want to guarantee you that we will never sell out to Big Con. We will never sell
That's
out to
right.
Big Tech. We will never sell out to Big Eva. This
That's right.
year, CrossPolitic will be dropping exclusive content into our club portal for club members only. Some of this content will include a Bible study series with Pastor Toby, if Neil will ever schedule it with me, a special with New St. Andrews President Ben Merkel, our
that's coming.
backstage
That's
going up right
exciting.
now.
content, and of course, all our conference talks. You also always get a discount
To the conference.
to the conference if
And it's live now. And it's live now. You
Yes.
can go
Play
sign up.
something.
You
Play
can go
some music.
sign up
Message.
for the
Message.
Ark Encounter conference right now.
Ark Encounter.
People already, before we put it live on the website, people are already signing up. I
Really?
mean, it's incredible.
Oh,
we didn't
my
link it to everywhere, and somehow they're finding the
These
URL.
ninjas,
Yeah,
bro,
I know.
they don't play.
Incredible.
so if you're a club member, of course, you get a discount.
Yep.
To the Ark Encounter this year.
So you log in as a club member, you'll get your discount when you log in as a
Fight
club
Laugh
member.
Feast at the Ark Encounter. Politics of 6-day creation. How Genesis
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3
Yeah.
impact
Yeah.
everything. It's the foundation for how you read the Bible, which is your foundation for how you understand what the Bible says about ethics, morality, politics, society, everything.
And this year, normally we do our conference Thursday through Saturday.
Yes.
This year we're doing it Wednesday through Saturday.
Extra day.
Because we're leaving time to go visit the Ark Encounter, time to go visit the Creation Museum, time to. I mean, it's
and then to come to the conference.
It's a fantastic experience.
And when you sign up, you can buy discounted tickets to the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum.
And the tickets you should get for the Ark Encounter and Creation Museum is bouncer tickets. It's a 3-day ticket, so you can find plenty of time to go to both. Yeah, you can usually buy separate tickets to each one, but this one allows you to go both. And
you can bounce back and
over
forth,
3 days.
go back to your favorite ones.
It's awesome. So Beer and Psalms kick off on Wednesday.
I'm looking forward to
And
that.
then Pastor Toby kicks off the conference on Thursday. Then we do the after party on Thursday, and it just goes on from there.
So you need to sign up for the Ark Encounter Fight Laugh Feast, October 11th to the 14th.
Excited.
But all this to say, though, our club membership it's our business model.
That is.
Which we are trying to blend what we believe is both financially stable, financially anti-fragile.
That's right.
It's not dependent on one big sugar daddy or sponsor, as much as we're grateful for the sponsors we do have.
And we're even selective about the sponsors we do have.
But for as little as $10 a month, you join the army. You're part of what we're doing, and so head over to fightlaughfeast.com, get signed up today.
And look, all these organizations. I mean, Jeremy Boring went through this, and he mentioned the billionaire that supported Pajama Media, and then CRT, and then now the Blaze. I know that billionaire. I know who they're talking about.
Yeah.
All these organizations, Daily Wire was funded by a billionaire.
Yeah, all of them.
They all started with major seed
all
money.
of them were.
Yeah.
And they all have serious handles on them to get their business model to make money.
Yeah.
But because our club army, because we're able to get money through our club members, we don't have all those strings, and we can grow at the pace that we aren't stuck with trying to deal with. Now we got other problems. We got other difficulties in growth and stuff like that.
Yep.
We got Facebook problems. We got YouTube problems. We've been suspended by YouTube.
All
the same problems.
We do.
But we're able to grow with a more of a stronger foundation because of our club members. So we don't give hard pitches like that. But I mean, when you see fights like this between Daily Wire, Blaze, Steven Crowder, all these things going, I mean, when you guys join our club membership, you're building something that's going to last. The Daily Wire. Here's the. I'm just gonna lay all my cards on the table right now.
You didn't already?
No, I didn't.
Before those before.
Wait a second. Before you do, I just got to say we're gonna skip a clip. This clip we were gonna play was Steven Crowder recording privately the call that he had
playing some clips from a private recording
with Jeremy Boring. Secret recording, which I thought was awful.
This is what I think the crux is for Gabe is like. When you have a kind of morality that does that to people who you consider friends and then goes out and blasts them like that, you've completely compromised yourself for any point of this conversation.
And you turn your friends into enemies.
Right. I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
So here's the deal. Here's my problem with Steven.
Okay.
Here's my problem with the Daily Wire. Here's my problem with the Blaze Network. Okay? Here we go.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care. No. He's going to do it his way.
They're all secular organizations.
Yeah.
We think we're funding a conservative movement.
Right.
We think we're funding Daily Wire's conservative movement, Blaze, whatever. You can go back and forth with these petty contract agreements. I'm past that. The Daily Wire is run by an evangelical, a Catholic, a Jew, a Anglican, and then their corporate counsel is Andrew Clavin's son's boyfriend, a gay lawyer. And the Blaze, go through the Blaze.
Yeah.
It's started by a Mormon.
Yeah.
You know, it's funded by a Mormon, or the seed money was funded by a Mormon. A unprincipled billionaire out of Las Vegas. They got Dave Rubin on their network.
Yeah.
You know,
is he Blaze or is he Daily Wire?
He's Blaze.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dave Rubin's Blaze.
Yeah.
Freezer's full of breast milk.
Yeah.
And so all you're going to get in 30 years is Fox 2.0.
Right.
It's secularism.
Right.
Or 1.5.
Or whatever. It's not even going to be as good. It's not even going to be as good.
0.5.
When you put... I mean, what is governing Daily Wire? What's their governing principles? It's not Christianity.
No.
It has to be secularism.
No. It's
how do you get a Jew?
Okay.
How do you get an evangelical? How do you get a Catholic? All to work together.
Yeah. It's secular libertarianism.
That's exactly right.
I'm not arguing with you in the realities of those things, but I will say this reminds me a lot of the pro-life movement, where you have Catholics who are first to the moral issue of abortion,
right.
and evangelicals are sitting back waiting until we get a movement behind us, and they're just jumping in and doing the thing.
Yeah.
And so while I understand and agree with you, you can't get Christians to invest in things like this. It's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
You look at HBO, for instance. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
HBO It took $15 million over 10 years of somebody pouring into that institution before it started to become profitable.
Yep.
Do you know any evangelical Christians that are like, I'm in for putting $15 million into CrossPolitic until they become profitable, or the Fight Laugh Feast Network? Or what evangelical Christians taking those kind of bets?
Right.
They're not doing them. But that's not how we think about things at all, because it was about the fight. This is where
HBO believes in cathedrals.
Right.
And evangelicals,
That's
we believe in blow up castles.
And here's what's hilarious about all this. Okay,
if it's not up in 5 minutes, if I don't have the hit in 5 minutes, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. So I've been traveling and I've been meeting with potential investors for the Fight Laugh Feast Network, for the network, not for CrossPolitic. And what's hilarious about this whole evangelical Christian world is you could easily get $3 million to fund a Kirk Cameron movie and Sony get all the profits. That's no problem. Christians will $3 million. Yeah, easy. Kirk Cameron, that movie lasts for 6 months, 12 months, maybe 18 months. Maybe that's the life cycle of that impact of that movie. That's it. But to think long term and to fund something that's 30 years, 40 years, that's what a network is. The network actually has a far more greater impact on discipleship than we could ever imagine. Think of sitcoms like Friends.
Yeah.
10 years on, and you bet it softened people's view on sleeping around with friends.
It had an impact, a moral imagination. It played an impact on the moral imagination of culture.
It shaped a generation.
Absolutely.
It shaped it.
And now
sleeping around with my roommate, not a big deal.
And now we have Joe Biden.
How much was that worth?
Yeah.
Right? How much money was poured into that show?
Yeah.
What were their contracts?
They're still getting.
They're still making money,
getting it.
And Netflix, all that stuff.
And we're not just talking about cash in the bank. We're talking about
impact,
cultural
influence.
impact.
Yep.
Like that's our generation.
Yep.
And that's why Gay Mirage has gotten approved. That's why we have a bunch of
Will and Grace.
Why do we have a bunch of tranny kids?
Yep.
Why are parents actually having their kids cross-dress?
We've been discipled by networks.
Because you got discipled by friends.
Yep.
Because you got discipled by what feels good must be right.
But
what seems good must be right.
Here's what I'm trying to convince Christians to think. One of the ways I'm trying to convince them to think is a network is infrastructure. Okay? CrossPolitic, we're content. We are an infrastructure.
Yeah, that's right.
He who owns the infrastructure owns the keys to the voices to the world.
The platform.
Infrastructure, platform.
Yeah.
And that's where the greater impact is. I've been texting with some friends about this very issue this week, who are major players in this game and in the content game and even the music industry.
Yeah.
And actually building infrastructure, because we're all beholden to the infrastructure.
Right.
Before
that's why Rumble isn't a real option.
YouTube, Rumble, all these things are just their own platforms. They're
infrastructure
platforms.
But even go back to more basic. It's like Samuel Morse code. That was infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
It was both.
Yeah.
It was both.
Yeah.
And then the telephone,
the printing press,
the wiring.
Yeah.
That's the infrastructure.
Right.
AT&T and the cellular wireless network.
Yeah.
That's infrastructure.
Right.
And that's where Christians have not been building.
Right.
And we have been building for decades. We've dropped the ball there on the infrastructure side of things so bad.
Right.
Well,
So I want to say one more thing here.
Go ahead.
So as you're kind of, I've been thinking, I run this, when I talk with my friends about their work and what they're doing, I'm constantly trying to push them to, okay, well, what infrastructure can you be building while you're at this company?
Right.
Or how can you be thinking about maybe parlaying this and actually building infrastructure?
This is, I respect that, but
Yeah.
you got to have both.
I'm not denying you got to have both. No. I'm saying Christians are focused on content. We have not been focusing on infrastructure.
Although even on that focus, we've been pretty anemic.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But you have
VeggieTale. I mean, you can go down the list of all the infrastructure on the content that we've tried to been paying for. We'll pay for content. We'll pay for Kirk Cameron movies.
But I don't want to put the jab up against the right hook. You need both of those. And a jab sets up for the hook. And so you got to have both of those things working together. And part of the conversation with this is what I saw with Stephen Crowder and Daily Wire was people were picking which side they were on. This is why I'm glad to hear you say that they're both wrong.
Yeah, I'm glad you recanted from the previous.
I think you won.
Because I don't know about you. You scared me a little bit. I didn't know what to think about. And I think it's because you saw the moral failures of Stephen Crowder and you were like.
I think he's sin. I think Daily Wire's Daily Wire.
But you know what?
I think all their contracts are this way. I was not surprised to read that contract at all.
But Daily Wire is in bed with big tech.
That's no surprise to me. I knew Ben Shapiro had met with the CEO of Facebook. I knew Jeremy Boring had sat down with the CEO of YouTube. Like those conversations are not private.
I'm just saying, like, so Steven Crowder maybe has his own compromises, has his own problems, and I think it was a nasty thing.
Yeah.
To essentially
record his friend,
secretly record your friend. At least if you're going to call him your friend, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And they were calling each other friends initially, and then he basically stabbed him in the back.
Unless your friends are, this better raised to a pretty high level of problematic.
You got to declare war. If you're going to declare war, fine.
Yeah, but
you go into Planned Parenthood, record them all day.
Yeah, right. I don't have any problem with David Daleiden, doing his thing, 100%. Recording his people secretly. That's fine because you're at war. They're already enemies.
Yeah. I think Steven Crowder, in his situation, wherever he was with the Blaze, whatever the situation was going on there, it was already at a certain level. Yeah. And he's starting to see the problem. It's like Moses coming out and seeing all the Hebrews and like, I'm one of these people too. Why? And then he goes and kills the guy. Wrong. Shouldn't have killed him. That's not how victory is going to come. Yeah. But yet, what are they doing? Are they wrong for doing this? It's the same thing same way I feel about the FBI and Martin Luther King. It's like they should not be tapping people's phones. I'm sorry, he's doing what? With who? For how many cookies?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
no, 100%.
Oh, wait a second.
100%.
And so this, I got to say this about contracts because we have to think like Christians about all this. When you think about contracts, I think about considering someone more significant than myself. I think about loving my neighbor. I want to think rightly about a person's value as it relates monetarily without putting a value on who they are as an individual. Okay, I want to think about all those things. But when it comes to a contract, I'm not fighting and bartering with you over these things. I'll explain that in a second. What I want to do is I want to come and say, okay, make a full assessment. What's the value that this person brings monetarily? What can I afford to give this person? Do we make our percentage off the top and do all the calculations? And I want to come back and say, even in the term sheet, I don't care what it is. Hey, you know what, Gabe? I have $30 million. And you come and you say, well, I can't do 30, give me 35. I was like, you don't understand me. When I say I have $30 million, that's what I have. I'm not trying to barter with you. I'm telling you the truth. The problem with contracts is we don't believe each other when we're saying we think there's a little more. So we lie to each other in the midst of the contract agreement. Right. So I got $30 million. And we say, well, I want 35. Listen, man, I'm paying your health insurance. I'm paying this. I don't have anything more. And if I had more, I would give it to you.
You pay producers.
Right. Right. And you say, listen, if you come back to me and want to barter in the way that, hey, you are paying my health insurance, I'll take care of that. Put that now inside of there. Can you get 32? I'll say I can get 32. If you do that, I'm fine with that, right? Like, but I'm not saying, is there any more left in me to pull out? Yeah. Right? Is there any more left in you that I can keep from giving to you? Like, no, I want to tell you the absolute truth of where I'm at in this contract. And then when we've come to that, we want to say, yes, all right. Now, listen, I don't have a problem with them saying, hey, if you don't produce a show, we don't get to make money off you not producing a show, right? I can get that. We can work through that. But I think when it comes to contracts, we're not thinking of telling the truth in the contract. We expect, well, let's play the game. No. I don't want to play that game.
Right.
Especially with my brother.
And then I think on the social media platform side of things and the monetization side of things, I think the thing that I would want to see a truly conservative Christian platform do is take more responsibility for what the goal of it is.
Yeah.
Saying, we want you to fight hard. Yeah. We want you to punch hard.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
Here's the proof that we want you to do that. We're going to take more of that hit.
We got your back.
I think at least, I'm not saying they have to say that we'll take the whole 100%, but I think a good faith effort of saying, we got your back and we're going to take more of a hit because we believe in you.
That's right.
And we want you to know we got your back is really
And you
important.
want to arm your snipers well.
This is where artists need institutions. Right? And they don't have them. And this is where I got to give Gabe a lot of credit for this because he works really good. This is why I was a little surprised by that you even agreed with the Daily Wire on this. Artists...
I didn't.
Artists are going to launch the assault. That is our weapon. And if you restrict them or if they have to think about the restrictions there, they can't do their job well. They're not built that kind of way. And so you have to be the kind of institution. They did this with hip hop where it's like, rap about whatever you want. Right. We'll pay the fees. We'll pay for all the cuss words. We'll put the label on. Well, whatever. Don't stop doing what it is you think is going to reach the people.
Because we believe in what you're doing, and we believe that you're going to be so effective at it.
We'll make money off of it.
Whatever hits we take in the process, we're going to recoup.
Yeah,
it
but
long
those
term.
contracts became problematic, though.
Can I give another example?
Rapper contracts?
Yeah,
We're gonna go there.
And because of the way that they fought, they destroyed the system. But with it,
Yeah.
it took tech to come with them, but they destroyed the system. And now we have different type. This is if it wasn't for the way that rappers engage with contracts, you wouldn't have got Jay-Z. You wouldn't have got Cash Money. You wouldn't have got No Limit. Right? They transformed the industry because the industry started seeing like, wait a second, they see something. They're the artists. They know something we don't. Let them do what they want to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then they start realizing like, wait a second, we should be making more money.
We got to lock that down.
And then they changed the format.
Down.
But first, they got behind them. The other thing is this. I've worked in this industry where people, we're working with Kirk Cameron. Me and Marcus, we're working with Darren Doan. Kirk Cameron is doing his trailer for his film, Unstoppable. They limit Kirk from being able to speak. Kirk puts tape over his mouth and takes a picture.
Who's they? Be clear.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook limits
now,
them.
Kirk is pretty high level on Facebook, more than you would think and more than anybody you can think of, okay? Yeah. And they limited him. And as an artist, Marcus is hearing Darren and hearing Kirk in the other room talk about this, and like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this thing? And Marcus comes from the room and editing and yells out, hey, take a picture with tape over your mouth and post it.
And that thing went viral.
Blew up.
Yep.
You know, and so having artists being able to create and be able to fight this and knowing that the institution is behind them, they can do things that can break the hold of the institution. Now,
that's right.
Actually, and I just want to pause there. I think this is a place where artists and businessmen need each other.
They have to have each other.
But you've got to trust one another.
Yep.
Which is hard.
Yep.
But I think
what you see with
this is the
Crowder and Boring.
Yeah, but this
lack
is
of trust.
But this is a massive failure of the believing Christian church. The community of believers, massive failure to trust godly artists.
Yeah.
To tell the stories. Yeah. To be effective. Now, frequently they've been lame. Frequently they've been trite. Frequently they've been gay.
That's because they're anemic.
But that's partially because no one's actually believed in them.
They got to juice them.
And juiced them to actually set them free to do what God made them to do. But that's going to take, that's the
But here's the deal.
But
Here's what's crazy about all this. Daily Wire gave Crowder a $50 million contract.
It was nothing.
No, well, what my point is, that's insane conservative money.
Is it though?
But
Fox
is
is paying Sean Hannity $20 million a year. Tucker Carlson's getting paid $30 million plus
35.
a year. Yeah, plus a year. But they've been around for 30 years. Daily Wire's been around for 8 years, and they're now up to the point where they can pay someone $50 million. That's incredible.
Or more.
There's a lot of money out there, and conservative Christians have abandoned this space big time.
And we're giving it to a guy who's trouncing around his offices with women without wearing enough clothes.
Yeah.
So there's a
like, hey, maybe he'll win. You know,
let's support him. Let's support him.
They've got a lot of cleavage.
Yeah.
Maybe his razors will win.
That's right.
I mean, like, what are we idiots?
The other reason why I think Crowder is right, and I wish we can play the clip, but we don't have time to play the last clip. Do we? We don't have enough time.
We got a little time.
Okay, Haley, get us to the last clip.
If you need to go, Toby, we can finish up. Oh yeah, that's right. You're here. We're supposed to have a business meeting after this.
Only person I who should leave is you. Some basketball game.
That's right.
This is the big problem. So while we're talking about contracts, those things are important. But the big problem is the way that the money gets spent and what happens to shows like ours trying to compete in the market with guys like Daily Wire.
Yeah, here we go.
Is Crowder's point.
And with the Blaze and with other the Blaze doesn't do this near as much because they actually focus. I think the Blaze and us have a lot of the same model as far as business is concerned. But a lot of the other shows are doing this, and it's creating a problem on
This is Crowder on Timcast.
This is Crowder on Timcast, and what he's talking about is what happens when you start inflating or pay to play or play the game that the social media game wants you to play.
Right.
You market your channel, right? I think we probably have some ads running right now, like Spotify. Like, hey, if you like this show, tune in on Spotify. But there's a big difference. We know that there's a huge problem in our industry of pay to play. Now, you can do that. That's fine. If you want to grow your numbers. But
what is that?
So pay to play means that you can buy views, right? You can pay to play. You can run your video as a pre-roll ad, and people see that number. But really, a lot of them are 14-second views, 8-second views, but it still clicks that counter. The closest apples to apples comparison that you could do right now is you could go out and take, like, let's say, not this controversy because there's cross-pollination, but Ben Shapiro's a huge show. Of course he is. But go take some videos there right now that have 1 million plays. Go month after month. Take a bunch of them. Look at the likes. Look at the comments. Take videos from my channel. It's comparable plays. Take them with 800,000, 600,000 plays because we've converted them a lot to Rumble. Look at the likes, look at the comments. It's startling because it's a lot easier to buy plays than it is to buy likes and comments. That's not a problem.
Well, are you saying that the Daily Wire is buying views for their content?
I'm saying that they run the videos. This happens not just Daily Wire, to be clear.
Everybody.
Stop Big Con is designed.
Hit pause.
Because it's entire industry.
Listen, everybody's doing this.
Yep.
Everybody, because that's how the social media game is set up. It's set up that you
So
only
Especially
get
Facebook. Especially Facebook.
For people like me, what we're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is you boost a post. You you get a sponsor, you buy ad buy, whatever.
For that video.
It runs, and you're guaranteed that it's going to be put in front of so many viewers.
Yeah, 1 million
30,000,
people, whatever.
Those views then get tacked onto the video.
And then they go and sell to advertisers, hey, look, we're averaging about 1 million views per show.
Right.
You should advertise with us. And then those advertisers are paying that advertising spot based off those million views.
Right.
So right now we've gotten to a certain spot on Facebook that we used to get somewhere between 10,000 to 15,000 views a video on Facebook. We started when they first.
That's when we had like 3,000 people liked our page.
With no ad buy, no
boost
boosting,
whatsoever.
nothing.
And so you're right. This is when they first started live streaming. So we had,
we had 3,000 people liked our page.
We have 15 to 16,000
we got like 20,000
on
almost now.
Facebook.
Right.
We'll get 300 views.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And as soon as, if you want to pay for it, we can pay for it. The problem is you got to figure out how to engage with those groups, which is what we figured.
You don't just want a view. You want
to get
engagement.
because a view is just like he said, 3 seconds. They got
8
3-second views.
12,
they got 15-second views.
If you're oriented to the advertisers,
right?
You just pay to play.
That's right.
That's right.
You get the views, 10-second, 15-second
and you
views.
don't care about the quality
And
of
you
those
don't
views.
care about the quality of the engagement.
Yep.
That's what he's talking about, likes and comments.
That's right.
Far fewer.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because you're just trying to get the advertising revenue.
It's not just on social media. The podcast game is rigged the same way.
Yeah.
So we figured this out too. So everybody's podcast numbers are inflated somewhere between 5 and 7?
I don't know.
Roughly?
I don't know.
We don't even know how far the inflation
we don't know.
goes.
We know we went from one podcast catcher to the one me and my buddy built, Jeremy, and we went to a reasonable calculation of what a download meant.
Right. What are you calculating at?
So our calculation of a download is basically, so when you download through your podcast catcher, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Tunes, whatever,
right.
Google Play, we just say that download starts with a ping. And that one ping is, we say, one download within 24 hours. So if you get like 5, 6 pings on that one episode within 24 hours, we still count it as one download. And here's what people are doing though.
Yes.
Because
is it ping like, so if I play the first like minute and then stop and then I pick
that'll
it
be
back
another
up,
ping.
and then I play another 5 minutes and then it's dinner time and then I pick it up again.
That's right.
That's 3 pings.
Right.
But are most data
it's a black box, but I know we went from one catcher to our Dropwave podcast provider, and our data became a lot more reliable. And the downloads dropped.
Right.
Our previous podcast catcher was inflating because I think all these podcasts
are probably counting every ping.
Yeah, or something.
And why wouldn't you? Because what you want to say is, listen, over
look
here
at all
on
the
this
downloads you're going to get in your podcast.
Look
right.
what so
who doesn't want?
And so Dropwave
right
is.
And how do you prove that it's not?
Right.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to fight just on the Dropwave download side of things. Is we're trying to say this is what a download should be because this is reasonable and accurate.
Right.
But we're talking in this world where the dollar's inflated
right.
up here, and everyone's like, but you're only getting 500,000 downloads a quarter.
Right. So then here's a problem for that.
But this is back to Crowder's point.
Right.
But we're saying it's quality downloads versus quantity downloads.
Yep.
And so now, what happens though when you go to a sponsor and you say, "Hey, sponsor, we get this many downloads," and they go and say, "Well, I'm sorry, why would I pay for that? Because the other company over there gives me 4 or 5 times as much downloads."
And you say, "Well, this is quality downloads."
And they're like, "Yeah, I don't really care.
We're not really sure."
Yeah.
I mean, who do we trust?
Exactly. Anyway,
but do we want to go
finish?
I want him to finish.
Okay, yeah.
Because this goes all the way through.
All right.
industry. And what happens is, yes, these views get inflated. There's nothing wrong with running ads to increase the video count. The problem is this. When that is used to then go out and set sponsorship rates. Yep. And then this is what happens with creators. When you sit down with sponsors, and these are hard-earned dollars, right? A lot of them are mid-sized companies. You run them on this show, and they say, yeah, but you know what? We didn't get our money's worth, and this person is the number one show, because they go out and they say that they have these numbers, and they set what happens? They drop those rates across the board, which hurts everybody, or they pull out altogether. Now, you can publicly verify that information. Now, I could tell you guys that I've had conversations with sponsors that say, we're not going to be running in the conservative space because it's just not as effective as we thought it was, or you know what, we're going to be pulling out. And content creators just say, why am I getting these low advertising rates? Here's the issue. If you're some kid, and by kid, I mean, you know, you could be a 40-year-old with a smaller podcast.
CrossPolitic?
Let's say you get 250,000 plays. Not as big, but good numbers. Let's say you get 500,000 plays, right? Good numbers, but they're real. And you are a conservative, and you're trying to grow this. And then all of a sudden, your content, YouTube is saying, can't say that, can't do that because of the box that's being created by all of these companies in big conservatism. And then you're trying to make it, right? You're trying to make it something that is financially solvent, and you can't because sponsors no longer have faith in this side of the industry. Yep. That is something that hurts those creators. And this is something that the creators are hurt, the sponsors.
Okay, we're done.
I think
and that's the point. Is structurally, if we're going to fight liberalism, if we're going to fight the left, or if we're going to fight big tech, you can't play this game.
No.
You can't, not long term.
Somebody's going to have to say, okay, let's beat it.
I'm going to take the hit.
But here's the dirty little secret that no one is talking about. Okay, Pfizer gave Fox News billions of dollars for advertising.
Of course they did.
They gave Newsmax millions of dollars. Newsmax. You remember when all of a sudden Newsmax started having lawyers come out with all their stuff?
Hey, you can't talk about that.
You can't talk about that on Newsmax?
Start shutting people down.
That was Pfizer.
Yeah.
Giving Newsmax money.
Yep.
All these major conservative networks. I haven't been able to dig up what Daily Wire, if Daily Wire got anything from Pfizer or not. Because Ben Shapiro he was pretty pro-vax.
It didn't matter. The fact that he was so pro-vax was
they didn't
enough
need to give him any money.
Yeah.
Really, bro?
Well, we know from we have friends that said that they were let go from Daily Wire because of Ben Shapiro saying that we got a lot of good money from homosexuals.
Yeah. Denise McAllister was one of our friends.
I mean, it may not be Pfizer, but like,
something else.
But there's
it's milk in the fridge.
There's breast milk in the fridge, right? I mean, you can get money.
Them advertisers,
right? They're making money, and and the big money you can get, selling, cleavage razors.
That's right.
Whatever.
That's right.
There's all kinds of compromise that's been laced through this, and it goes back to money. It goes back to what is considered sexy, what's considered cool, and what they think will win.
And the thing I'm thankful about all this is there's all these backroom conversations that are going on. Daily Wire, Blaze, we're even involved in a lot of them from some perspective with different friends that we have in the biz.
We ain't even at that money level.
No, we ain't even at that money level.
This is the grace of God in some of that.
Yeah.
But I'm glad the dirty laundry is starting to be shown already with how these basically secular conservative organizations are functioning.
Right.
Well, and here's why. There's another clip we're not going to be able to play because we don't have the time. But I got to say, this is when I started seeing this, and when he went on, when Crowder went on Timcast, this is what hit me. It was like, oh my goodness, this is America. This is America. We are in the place right now where we can't trust our institutions. We think that they're fighting for us, like the pro-life movement. We've come to realize.
Like the Republican Party.
The Republican Party.
Like Trump, who's doing big parties for log cabin Republicans.
And then you have homosexuals out there. And then we see our representatives not fighting for us. And so everybody then fractures off from the large institutions. We're away from them, right? And then we got to figure out how we can be effective with not having a group. Yeah. And so we find groups to take our $10 or $20 to. Yep. It's all fractured off, and we put our money behind founders, for instance. Let's just say founders. And it's not that I don't like everybody else. It's just that this is where I find myself aligned more. And so because you're fractured away from everybody, anytime there is a conflict, it's not that you don't like everybody, but your money is here. You're going to protect that, and you're going to fight against people unintentionally. And it's going to make
weird allegiances.
Because you're defensive and you're afraid.
Yes. And it's going to make weird allegiances that create tribalism. Yeah. And when the other clip I wanted to play was when they started talking about how do we then build this new thing. And there's no escaping that whatever this new thing is, it's going to be Disney. It's going to be Fox. It's going to be CNN. It's going to be a large institution that has a large umbrella for people to be able to come in. There's no escaping that.
Right.
People
Otherwise,
always want to aggregate.
we're going to have
There's a human tendency to aggregate.
We're going to have exactly, and you have to, because if you don't, you're going to create tribalism and fights, and you're going to get you're going to get people fighting each other, and not fighting the right battle. Right. So no matter how you build it, you're going to have to figure out, okay, this person makes this much, they bring in this much attention, we're going to give that much money to them. There's still going to have to be the problem.
Still calculation.
Still got to pay your bills. Pay your bills.
Your problem is you don't have a moral people to be able to make those decisions in business, which is why the contract stuff is super important. There's no moral people in business, so then we faction off, and then now we're fighting with each other. Right?
Our guns are pointed at each other
instead of saying, how do I get G3 founders, CrossPolitic,
Apologia,
Liberty Coalition.
How do I get these guys underneath at one large thing and have everybody come to them? How do we create that type of festival environment, right? And say, I'm going to buy into this, and where I spend my time, my energy, I know all these guys are going one direction. If we don't figure out a way to get there, if we don't have some sort of form of biblical ecumenism and solid biblical morality, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. And we're going to faction off. None of us will be able to fight the bigger thing because we don't know how to work together. And there's no real morality that we can agree on. And so this is a bigger problem, and this is where America is now.
Yeah, in every way.
In every way, we're factioned off.
Yeah, we're fragmented, and particularly those who love the Lord Jesus, love His Word. We are the fragmented ones. We've been divided. We've been divided by our sins. We've been divided by our failures. We've been divided by heresies and COVID. I mean, everything else. And the left is united by their hatred
for us.
They're united by their hatred for God and His people. Yeah. And that's what allows them to unite, but they're full of hatred, and that's what unites them. And I think that means though that the answer is going to be that if we want to actually build something that is formidable and worth being a part of, it's going to be because there are faithful men who are faithful to their marriages, are faithful to their children, who put Christ first, put the church first, and then are courageous, bold, unafraid, and don't care what anyone else thinks. It's going to be those kind of men who then see other men building things alongside them and saying, okay, we might have a few flavor differences, but obviously we're fighting the same enemy. Yeah. You're faithful to your wife. You're faithful to your kids. Right. Your grandkids love Jesus too. You love your church. Yep. Okay, we can link arms here, and we can do battle with darkness together. Here.
We're going to have to figure out how to build that type of institution because you're going to have to be the size of Disney. You're going to have to be the size of CNN.
But in the meantime, you build platoons.
That's right.
You build platoons of faithful men, and this is how you know that both. I mean, unless Steven Crowder comes out and apologizes for recording people secretly, he's compromised too.
That's right.
And clearly,
I'll give you that one, Gabe. I agree with you.
Doesn't know what spirit he's of, even though he's pointing out something I think very true about the problem with the business model and the culture that's surrounding Daily Wire.
That's right.
They're massively compromised. Yeah. It's not going to win.
Yeah.
It's not
a winning strategy.
You cannot beat the devil with the devil's stuff.
With the devil's cleavage.
No, you can't. You can't do that.
Leave the game.
You can only beat the darkness with light.
Yeah.
And the light, there's only one light. And it's Jesus Christ.
So while I'm pointing to a larger platform setup and environment, I just want to say too, it's not like God doesn't use small armies.
No.
So don't
300
mishear me.
And all that stuff.
Don't mishear me.
Gideon,
But one thing you're not going to escape is that there's a gathering. History is going a particular way.
Okay. Well, there's and these things. There's always. I mean, people will be like, I'm against the bureaucracy, and then it's like, but you have to organize. It's like we don't. It's like the Christians that say we don't have any confession of faith. We don't have any creed. And it's okay. Well, there's your creed.
You got a creed.
There's your creed. Yeah.
We don't have a liturgy.
Yeah. And it's like,
do you stand up and sit down in church?
Yeah. You sing songs. You just don't write it down.
Do you do announcements?
Yeah. Right.
I just want to say, Gabe, this is one of the worst rated rumbles we've ever had because you kind of agreed with me. So
no.
That's why we were fighting this much. So if you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is CrossPolitic.
Hi, I'm Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations, the world's largest classical Christian homeschooling community. I'm launching a new podcast, Refining Rhetoric. If you like CrossPolitic or just listen to hear what crazy stuff they're saying today, you will enjoy Refining Rhetoric. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform. I practice the 15 tools of learning by interviewing great guests, looking at current events, and talking about cryptocurrency.
While God created the world, the morning stars sang together. After God delivered Israel through the Red Sea, Moses and Miriam led the people in singing. God destroyed Israel's enemies under King Jehoshaphat, while the choir sang. When Jesus was born, the angels sang, and before going to the cross, he sang. God rejoices over us with singing, and one of the only things we know for certain that everyone will be doing in heaven is singing. At New St. Andrews College, we understand that music is not an elective. It is central to our being and identity. We endeavor to train all our students in a joyful and robust musical literacy that will help them shape culture in a Christ-like direction wherever they go. Additionally, we offer the Certificate of Music in conjunction with our bachelor's degree in liberal arts and culture for students who desire extra music training beyond the regular music courses they will take as a part of the core curriculum. In the certificate program, you won't simply appreciate music or listen to it or talk about it. You will do music. You will study it, analyze it, read it, write it, sing it, and play it. You will receive private instruction in your primary instrument as well as secondary lessons in voice, piano, conducting, and other instruments. You will receive a solid foundation in music theory and analysis. You will study music history, church music, and music pedagogy. And when you graduate, you will leave with the ability to sing, play, understand, and steward music in whatever church or community you plant yourself. I'm Dr. David Erb, and this is the Certificate of Music at New St. Andrews College.